A black teen was thrown off her flight for no reason. What happened next had the airport scrambling for cover. The alarm rang at 5:30 a.m., but she was already awake. She had barely slept, not because of nerves, but because today was the day she had been waiting for. Bags packed, phone charged, itinerary memorized. Everything was set. 17-year-old Brianna Lewis checked her reflection in the mirror one last time. She wanted to look put together, mature. Flying alone for the first time wasn't just about getting from point A to B. It was about proving to herself, and maybe even to her parents, that she was ready for more independence. Her mother had fussed over her all night, reminding her of every possible scenario that could go wrong. Don't talk to strangers. Don't take anything from anyone. Keep your phone on loud. Her father, on the other hand, had been calm, just like always. You'll be fine, Bri. Just be aware of your surroundings. Brianna rolled her suitcase to the front door, where her father was waiting, car keys in hand. The ride to Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport was quiet, except for the occasional piece of advice from her dad. He knew she was smart. He also knew the world didn't always see her that way. At the drop-off zone, he gave her a quick hug. "Call me when you get through security," he said, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. She smiled. "I got this, Dad." Brianna pulled her suitcase through the automatic doors, stepping into the world of solo travel. The energy of the airport was electric. Families hugging goodbye. Business people power walking with their Bluetooth earpieces, excited tourists snapping pictures before even leaving the terminal. She took a deep breath. This was it. She found her airline counter, checked in with no problem, and made her way to security. The TSA line was long, but she passed through without a hitch. Everything was going smoothly, and that little bubble of excitement in her chest grew bigger. She grabbed a bagel from a cafe and walked toward her gate. Her flight to Charlotte, North Carolina was still an hour away. She picked a window seat in the waiting area, pulling out her book to pass the time. For the first time that morning, she let herself relax. She was doing this, alone, and it felt good. But just as she started to believe this trip would go exactly as planned, she noticed a uniformed airport staff member walking toward her with a look she couldn't quite read. Something was about to change. And not in a good way. Brianna barely had time to put her book down before the airport staff member stopped in front of her. He was a tall man, mid-40s, wearing a neatly pressed uniform with a name tag she couldn't read fast enough. His eyes weren't friendly. "Excuse me, miss," he said, voice clipped. "Can I see your boarding pass and ID?" Brianna hesitated. Not because she had anything to hide. She had triple-checked everything before leaving home, but because something about his tone didn't feel like a routine check. Still, she kept her expression neutral and handed over her documents. "Sure. Here you go." He barely glanced at them before looking back at her. "Where are you headed?" She blinked. "Charlotte." "And what's the purpose of your travel?" Brianna shifted in her seat. "I'm visiting family." He stared at her, as if waiting for her to slip up. "Where are your parents?" She let out a small, confused laugh. "At home?" The man's face didn't change. "You're traveling alone?" "Yeah. I'm 17. Not 7. That was the wrong thing to say. His eyes narrowed, and suddenly she felt something she couldn't quite name. "Can you afford this ticket?" Brianna's stomach tightened. "Excuse me." "Who purchased this ticket for you?" he asked, like he hadn't just asked something wildly inappropriate. Brianna sat up straighter. "My dad. I don't see how that's relevant." Instead of answering, he looked past her toward the other staff near the counter. Another woman, mid-30s, walked over. "Something wrong?" she asked the man, but her eyes were locked onto Brianna. "She's claiming she's traveling alone," the man muttered. "Claiming?" Brianna repeated, anger rising in her chest. "I'm not claiming anything. I have my ID, my ticket. I checked in already. What's the issue?" The woman ignored her and asked the man, Has she been flagged? Flagged? For what? No, but I have concerns, the man responded. Concerns. He had concerns. Brianna felt the heat rising to her ears. She could feel the stares of the other passengers, the weight of eyes watching this scene unfold like some sort of spectacle. I don't understand, she said, her voice still even but tighter now. I haven't done anything wrong. The woman sighed and crouched slightly, like she was talking to a lost child. Honey, we just need to verify some things. Can you step over here for a moment? No. The word came out before Brianna could stop it. I mean, why? I haven't broken any rules. I just want to get on my flight. The man exhaled sharply, clearly losing patience. You can either cooperate or we can call security. Your choice. Her breath caught in her throat. She knew what that meant. She had seen the viral videos, the news stories, the moments that started just like this and ended with someone being forcibly removed, humiliated, and labeled as difficult. So she stood. Because what else could she do? As she grabbed her bag, she caught the eye of an older woman sitting across from her. The woman frowned, shaking her head slightly. She knew this was wrong too, but no one said anything. Not yet. Brianna followed them toward the counter, her heart pounding. She had a feeling this was about to get much worse. Brianna's hands felt clammy as she clutched the strap of her backpack. The two staff members walked slightly ahead of her, whispering between themselves. She couldn't hear what they were saying, but she didn't need to. She already knew. The woman led her to the side of the check-in counter, away from the other passengers. The man gestured for her to stay put as he stepped behind the desk and picked up a phone. Brianna could hear bits and pieces of the conversation. Young girl. Alone. Uncooperative. She tightened her jaw. Uncooperative. The same word people used when they wanted to shift blame, when they wanted to justify treating someone unfairly. The woman leaned in, her voice lower this time. We just need to make sure everything checks out, sweetie. Brianna forced herself to stay calm. Everything already checks out. I have my ID, my ticket. I went through security. What exactly are you checking for? The woman gave her a tight smile. It's just protocol. Protocol for what? Before Brianna could press further, two security guards appeared. A man and a woman, both in Navy uniforms, looking at her like she was already guilty of something. The man behind the desk pointed toward her. This one right here. Brianna's stomach twisted. This one. Not even this passenger. Just this one. The male security guard stepped forward. Miss, we need you to come with us. Brianna's heart pounded. Why? We have some concerns about your travel status, he said flatly. She shook her head. I have all my documents. I haven't done anything wrong. The guard's face remained unreadable. We're not asking. She could feel her body tensing, the weight of every eye in the terminal on her. People were watching, whispering, but no one was stepping in. The woman security guard tried to soften the moment. Look, it's just a quick conversation and then you'll be on your way. But Brianna knew better. Still, she had no choice. She couldn't risk making things worse. She grabbed her bag and followed them past the gate area, past the seats, past the people who had seen it all go down. Her throat tightened as she noticed a little boy tugging on his mother's arm, pointing at her. The mother shook her head and turned the boy away, like Brianna was something he shouldn't see. They led her into a small room off to the side. No windows, just a desk, a couple of chairs, and a single security camera in the corner. The male officer sat across from her, arms crossed. Are you sure you're traveling alone? Brianna's patience snapped. I already told you, I'm flying to Charlotte to visit my aunt. My dad booked my ticket. I have my ID. What else do you need? The woman sighed. We just have to be thorough. Thorough. There were dozens of other teenagers flying alone today. They weren't being questioned like this. Brianna sat back in the chair, crossing her arms. Would you be this thorough if I looked different? The air in the room shifted. Neither of them responded, but the tension in their silence said enough. Before anyone could speak again, there was a knock at the door. The woman cracked it open, and a new voice cut through the room. A voice Brianna knew very well. Where is my daughter? Her stomach flipped. Dad. But when she turned her head, she saw something she hadn't expected. He wasn't alone, and suddenly the people who had been so confident moments ago didn't look so sure anymore. The shift in energy was immediate. Brianna's father, Terence Lewis, stepped into the room, his presence commanding without a single raised voice or sudden movement. He wasn't the tallest man in the room, but somehow he seemed to take up the most space. His suit was crisp, his expression unreadable. Behind him stood another man, a younger associate, dressed in business casual, holding a leather folder in one hand and a smartphone in the other, already recording. The security officers straightened. The airport staff exchanged glances. They weren't in control anymore. Terence's eyes found Brianna's first. You okay? She swallowed hard and gave a small nod, though her face burned with frustration. He turned to the security guards, calm but firm. Someone explained to me why my daughter was detained. The male guard cleared his throat. Sir, she wasn't detained. Oh? Terence tilted his head slightly. So she was free to leave? The guard hesitated. The younger associate next to him let out a low chuckle. I'd answer quickly if I were you. The female officer took over. We had concerns about her travel status. Concerns, Terence repeated, nodding slowly. And those concerns were based on what? She was traveling alone. So are dozens of minors every day, he cut in. What made her different? Silence. The airline staff member, the one who had first questioned Brianna at the gate, stepped forward, trying to salvage the situation. Sir, we apologize if there was any misunderstanding, but our job is to ensure the safety of all passengers. We have protocols. Terence held up a single finger. The man stopped talking. Your protocols seem rather selective, he said, because I happened to pass by another gate a few minutes ago where two teenage girls, both flying alone, were laughing with the flight attendants and weren't being interrogated. Now I wonder, what was the difference between them and my daughter? More silence. Brianna clenched her fists. They knew. They all knew. Terence took a step closer to the desk, speaking evenly. I've spent the last 25 years ensuring that policies and procedures don't become convenient excuses for discrimination. So I'll ask again, why was my daughter singled out? The staff member opened his mouth, closed it again, then let out a forced sigh. Look, sir, I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding. No harm was intended. Terence smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. No harm intended doesn't erase humiliation. It doesn't undo the stress you put my daughter through, and it sure as hell won't be enough if we decide to take legal action. The air in the room shifted again. The younger associate placed the leather folder on the table, flipping it open. We've documented everything. We have timestamps, eyewitness statements, and... He lifted his phone. A recording of her being escorted away from the gate for no valid reason. The airline staff member's face paled. Terence placed both hands on the desk, leaning in slightly. Now, here's what's going to happen. My daughter is getting back on her flight, on her terms. She will not be spoken to, harassed, or inconvenienced again. And once she lands, I'll be expecting a formal apology, not just to her, but to every minor who might find themselves in this situation because someone had concerns. The staff member looked around as if hoping someone else would take over, but no one did. The security guards stayed quiet. The female officer shifted uncomfortably. Then the staff member swallowed hard and nodded. Of course, sir. We'll make the necessary arrangements. Good, Terence said, standing straight again. And one more thing. He motioned toward his associate, who placed a business card on the desk. Have your legal team reach out to my office. We'll be reviewing your protocols to ensure this doesn't happen again. Because next time... He paused, his expression turning to stone. It won't just be a conversation. The staff member picked up the card with shaking hands. Understood. Brianna exhaled, her chest tight. It was over. Or at least, this part was. As she stood to leave, she met her father's eyes again. He didn't have to say anything. She knew he was proud. But as they walked out of the room and back toward the gate, she couldn't help but wonder how many others had gone through this without someone like her dad to back them up. And how many more would if nothing changed. But change was coming. That much was certain. Brianna walked back toward her gate with her father beside her, his presence steady like an anchor. But she wasn't the same girl who had been pulled aside earlier. The nervousness, the confusion, gone. Now she was angry. And she wasn't the only one. As they approached the seating area near the gate, Brianna noticed something she hadn't expected. People were watching, and they weren't looking away. A woman in a grey blazer, maybe in her early 50s, stood up from her seat. "Excuse me," she said, stepping closer. "I saw what happened earlier. That was completely out of line." Another man, still holding his laptop, chimed in. "I was here the whole time. They didn't question anyone else like that. Just her." A younger guy, probably a college student, raised his phone. "I recorded everything. If you need the footage, I got it." Brianna's throat tightened. She had felt alone when it was happening. But now she realized people had been paying attention. Her father gave a single nod, his voice measured. "Thank you. We'll be in touch." More murmurs rippled through the crowd. Passengers whispering, shaking their heads, pulling out their phones. It wasn't just an incident anymore. It was a story, and it was spreading. At that moment, the airport manager arrived, a middle-aged woman with carefully controlled panic behind her eyes. She walked with forced confidence, but Brianna could tell she had already been briefed. "Mr. Lewis," the manager greeted, forcing a tight smile. "I sincerely apologize for the misunderstanding earlier." Brianna barely held back a scoff. Misunderstanding. Her father didn't blink. "Are you here to correct it or to cover it up?" The woman faltered. "I just want to ensure we make things right." "How?" She gestured toward the airline counter. "We can rebook her on a later flight. First class, no charge. And of course, we'll offer a travel voucher as a courtesy." Brianna felt her jaw tighten. That was their solution? Throw perks at the problem and hope it disappears? Her father let out a small chuckle, void of humor. "A voucher." The manager straightened, trying to regain control. "We want to make this right." Brianna had enough. She took a step forward before her dad could answer. "Making this right means fixing your system. It means making sure the next black teenager traveling alone isn't pulled aside and questioned for no reason. It means making sure your staff doesn't get to hide behind the word protocol every time they profile someone." The manager blinked, clearly caught off guard. Brianna exhaled, steadying herself. "So no, I don't want your first-class ticket. I don't want your voucher. I just want to board my flight like I was supposed to in the first place." Silence. Then slowly the manager nodded. "Of course. Right away." She turned, signaling to the staff at the counter. Within seconds, an agent was typing, issuing a new boarding pass. Not upgraded. Just what Brianna had paid for. The manager cleared her throat. "We will also be conducting a full review of our procedures and training to ensure—" Terence cut her off. "See that you do." And just like that, the power had shifted. Brianna wasn't the girl being interrogated anymore. She was the one holding them accountable, and they knew it. Brianna sat in her window seat, gripping her phone, her mind still racing. Her dad had walked her to the gate, staying just long enough to see her board safely. Before she left, he gave her a quick squeeze on the shoulder. "You handled yourself well," he had said. She hadn't been sure how to respond. She didn't feel strong or brave. She felt tired. The past hour had drained her. The embarrassment, the frustration, the weight of feeling powerless, and then, suddenly, not powerless at all. She glanced around the plane. No one was staring at her anymore. The whispers had stopped. The world was moving on. But she wasn't sure she could. Her phone buzzed. A text from her dad. "Proud of you. Call me when you land." She exhaled slowly, letting the words settle. Then another buzz. This time, a notification from social media. She tapped it open and froze. The video, the one the college kid had recorded. It was everywhere. Thousands of shares, hundreds of comments. People outraged. People calling out the airport. People telling their own stories of being stopped, questioned, treated like they didn't belong. Her chest tightened. This wasn't just about her anymore. She scrolled through the messages. This happens way too often. Glad someone finally spoke up. I went through the same thing when I was 16. Wish I had someone like her dad to back me up. That staff should be fired. This is unacceptable. Not surprised, but still disgusted. When will things change? Brianna's fingers hovered over the screen. Part of her wanted to shut it all off, pretend none of this had ever happened. But another part of her, the bigger part, knew that wasn't an option. She had a voice, and people were listening. She switched to her camera app, staring at her own reflection for a moment. Then she hit record. "Hey," she said, her voice steady. "So, I didn't expect to go viral today, but if this story is being shared, I want to make sure the message is clear." She took a breath. "This isn't just about me. It's about every kid who's been made to feel like they don't belong. It's about the people who get questioned just for existing in certain spaces. It's about the ones who don't have a lawyer for a dad to back them up." She looked straight into the camera. "This can't keep happening, and we can't stop talking about it." She hit post. Then she leaned back in her seat, watching the city shrink beneath her as the plane lifted into the sky. Maybe she had just started something bigger than herself. And for the first time since that morning, she was okay with that. If you've ever been in a situation where you felt singled out, unheard or powerless, your voice matters. Share your experiences. Speak up. Because change doesn't happen when we stay silent. What would you have done in Brianna's situation? Let's talk about it in the comments.